tell people, if they've been to yoga and they didn't like it, then they need to keep trying, because there's so many different, yoga can be everything from teaching you how to relax and sleep all the way up to a power yoga class, and you're going to get one of the most awesome workouts you've ever had. So, and I didn't realize that when I started. I was, matter of fact, my sister Amy, she had hurt her back and wanted me to go with her. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to hate this. It's going to be breathing and not moving. And,
Right.
and it wasn't that at all. It was more like a power yoga class. And 10 minutes in, I was looking at my watch going, oh my God, this sucks. And I can't do any of it. And it's really hard. But it was hot yoga.
Yeah.
But I toughed it out through the class. And then the yoga studio we went to had an infrared heating system.
Oh, wow.
And about 2 hours after the class, I noticed how good I felt. And I was like, I don't think I felt this good in like a long time. So it was just, and so I went and I thought, okay, I got to give this a chance. And I hated it at first, but I felt so good after the class was over. And to be honest, even that I was going for kind of the workout part of it, I didn't realize all the mental stuff that went along with it. And that kind of happened by accident. And it changed my entire view of life and the way I saw myself and the things around me and all that kind of stuff. So it really taught me a lot that I didn't realize I didn't even know.
And that's one thing that I wanted to talk with you about, is not only as somebody who is doing yoga and who understands it and also teaches it now, but, the kind of the journey you went on, about learning, I'm assuming you learn more about yourself, you learn more about your body, your surrounding areas. She did tell me restorative yoga or yin yoga. Yin yoga.
Yeah. And honestly, those are two more slow moving yogas, but they're different. Restorative is more about relaxation and just focusing in on your breath. You will be in poses, but they're a lot of times set up for you use a lot of props and blankets and stuff. And so the whole idea is to get you to relax into the pose. Whereas yin yoga, it's more of a thing that like gets into the fascia and the connecting tissues of your body, and kind of opens those up. And so yin can be really hard for some people because you hold poses for like 2 to 5 minutes, but they might be really hard poses for people. So, but they are good ways to start. But honestly, I think it depends on your personality. I mean, I was very type A, high strung, just, go all the time. My family, as you know, half of them are very like, we're loud and, competitive. Yeah. So, I think even if you go to it for the workout, you still get the work in, which I didn't realize when I started it. And to be honest, in the beginning, when they would talk about chakras and the mental stuff, I was kind of like, oh God, can we just get to the part where we're moving? And, and I didn't, but I mean, it worked. So then I was like, okay, I really need to look more deeply into this because I feel a lot different than I did when I started. So that's kind of what started me on my journey. And I was in not a great spot when I started yoga. I had quit a job that I loved what I was doing, but I didn't love the people that I was around. And so
a lot of people can relate to that, even in the military.
Yeah. And so I was really sad because I wanted that job to work out so bad, and I wasn't happy there. And so I was feeling like a failure and not good about myself. So I think God or the universe or whatever you want to call it kind of leads you where you need to be to pick up the lessons that you need to learn. And he definitely took me where I needed to be.
Well, and that's great. And I think, hey, mental health warriors, you guys are just kind of tuning in right now. Monica, I had already started our conversation. I want to appreciate everybody for tuning in this week. I have Monica Baker, who I know, who grew up with. She went to school with my older brother back there in Missouri. And really, I wanted to bring her on because, as I go through this journey of mental health and help everybody be, better mentally, spiritually, and physically, a lot of us, who were in the military, we have injuries and we have to work around those injuries and stuff. And my physical therapist had recommended that I try yoga. I know nothing about yoga, but I follow Monica on Facebook, and I knew she was a yoga instructor, and yoga has really had an impact on her life and really has changed not only her physically, but also mentally. And I really asked her to come on today because if you're listening and you're thinking about doing yoga, or you want to find something different that you can do in your workout routine, this might be a good fit about you, but I don't know anything about yoga. So this is going to be a great session for me too. I'm hopefully to learn a lot. I've been very excited about this. I have an appointment on Saturday with my doctor to get medically cleared because I have issues in my back.
Right.
Through C4 through C7. So I want to have that discussion with her. And I say, anybody, before you start any type of physical routine, you go and see your doctor and get checked out first, because it is important, because we want you to enjoy the workout. We want you to get what you want out of it. And for you to live the best person and the best life that you can live in this life, because we only get one time go around.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, so it's exactly. So with that, I want to go back to our conversation. Monica, you were talking about, we've all had jobs like that, right? I've had jobs in the military, and I worked around people where I would literally sit in my car for 30 minutes before I walked into work just to kind of get my mental state, because I knew the shitstorm I was walking into, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, right. And it wears on you. I mean, in the military, you just have to say, suck it up and deal with it. Or sometimes you can change your duty position stuff, but generally you can't. I mean, unless something seriously has happened. And even then, it's a big if. You just have to deal with it. Now in the civilian world, it's a little bit different, but it makes it really hard. Just like you were saying, I had a job that I loved. I did in the military. I absolutely loved it. But the people I worked with just made it an absolute hell. And eventually I had to get transferred out of that job. The leadership moved me out anyway. And so it happened and things got better. But so as you guys were tuning in, Monica was having that conversation. So now you're brought back up to speed. So we're going to continue. Before we get too far into it, one of the best childhood memories I have is the Pronto station that your family owned, right? Because we used to always go there and play video games. I mean, that was the place to go in a war. And if I ever see your father or ever talk to him, that's one of the best childhood memories I have, is going there on a Saturday afternoon. I'd go spend the night at my friend's house, and her parents would give us a pocket full of money, and we'd go spend the afternoon at Pronto playing video.
I have good memories from there too. I used to get up, when I was 12, I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and ride down to Pronto and make the donuts. And that literally was one of my favorite jobs of my whole life.
And they were great donuts too.
Yeah, well, everybody was happy. They were happy to see you. The place smelled great. Everybody wanted a fresh donut. So it was awesome.
It's sad. I left Missouri a long time ago. I left in 2000, and I still have a house there, and I go back and look, and it's kind of, you go back to a war, and it's a little bit depressing when you drive through there, but then you drive to the parking lot or the place where Pronto used to be, and it's just, I think it's an empty building now.
Yeah,
but it's kind of sad, but I guess that's life. But
it is. I know. I feel the same way when I go back there. It's just like, well, you have certain memories of how things were, and it's changed. So it's a little bit sad.
Yeah, they were. I went back. They were filming a documentary on me, and they did a bunch of filming around Aurora, and I didn't realize that they had tore down the old high school, the old part of the high school.
The only reason I knew is because it was on Facebook and someone told me, but I was like, a bunch of people that I knew went down to go see it before they actually tore it down. But I was kind of shocked when that happened. It was just like so many memories in that building.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, everybody, welcome down childhood memory lane and I'll tell you right now, Monica will at times probably call me Bill or Billy.
I know him as Billy.
Quick story about that. My real name is Clifford William Bauman. My middle name being William. I went by Billy in school because I think I was in first grade or second grade. Kids were teasing me about Clifford the big red dog. So I came home from school one day and told my parents I wanted to be called Billy. And from that day on, I was called Billy. And it's funny.
See, I never do that. I never knew your real name.
Yeah, see, now you're like Clifford Bauman. Who's this guy? And it's because,
I was at first when it was on Facebook. I'm like, wait a minute, I think I know him, but I'm not. That's not his name.
Super spy guy. You didn't know that.
Exactly.
Well, you know, I always joke. It's funny is the first time my wife met my wife from Massachusetts, and I met her coming out of Iraq, but she only knows me by Clifford or Cliff, right? And so the first time she meets my family, we're all sitting around having dinner and laughing and drinking and joking. And they keep saying, oh, well, Billy did this and Billy did that and blah, blah, blah. And Crystal finally, after a while, she looked at my mom and she's like, who the fuck is Billy and why do I care about what he did? She had no clue that was me.
That's funny.
I forgot to tell her, but that's kind of funny. But yeah, so Mental Health Warriors, my nickname is Bill or Billy. So anytime I have somebody that I grew up with, they'll call me by that name, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I used to always tell my wife, I said, if somebody called me and they asked for Bill or Billy, then I knew I went to school with them. And usually if they ask for Cliff or Clifford, then it's somebody that in the military or military related.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Now you learned something new about me. You thought you knew everything, but then you knew nothing.
That's true. That's true.
And for all you car gurus out there, Monica's dad is a huge Corvette guy, massive Corvette guy. I always had Corvettes, had some of the really nicest Corvettes in town, but I do appreciate, even though I have a Mustang, I do appreciate his passion for the car, the Corvette. And it's pretty amazing that, you know, as he's even gotten older, I mean, he still carries that passion. And I remember seeing it all the time with him and your mom in the cars and driving around, and they're still doing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. I don't think he'll let it go. Like he'll sell one and then he'll be like, oh, I'm not going to get another one. And then like a month later, he buys another one. He just can't let go. And really, I mean, Corvettes are probably his favorite, but he likes any kind of muscle cars. Yeah. He grew up in that era when they would race down Kearney and all that kind of stuff. So he loves that.
I can't confirm or deny that I raced on Kearney a couple of times, but
yeah, me neither.
That's right. You drove that. You drove the red Corvette convertible, right?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
7 or 68. I don't remember the year.
So, yeah, it was a 68. And then my sister drove a 69 black one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's great memories. Well, you know, as we graduate high school and we move out and move on and go on to our own careers, we go on our mental health journey, and it's different for everybody. And Monica, I really would like for you to take, you know, we were talking about that, you know, in the beginning, and you were talking about how you kind of went to yoga with your sister the first time, and you didn't think it was a good experience, and then you realized later on that it was a good experience.
Yeah.
And so if you wouldn't mind, just kind of start us back off then and help us with your journey. And then what I would like to do is also talk about, you know, mental health warriors. We're all tough people out there, male and females. If you want to do yoga, she's going to kind of explain to you the steps about kind of what to look for in a yoga studio, maybe beginning type yoga to do, and kind of what the expectations are as you go down that road. And, you know, I really want to talk about some is about the mental, you know, how it helped you both mentally and physically in doing yoga. And I've heard that from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's really why, you know, I'm excited about hopefully starting yoga here in the next 2 weeks. You know, I work out all the time. You know, Chris runs marathons. You know, I do probably 5 or 6 5Ks a week. I work around my injuries, and I'm just really hopeful that yoga will help me be able to do more.
Yeah, yoga will probably help with the injuries too, because I understand that. I never loved running, but I trained with a friend that was running a half marathon.
Yeah. But
during the training, I hurt myself and I had injuries and stuff. So, and yoga's helped with that too. So it's a cure all for everything.
Hey, all right. Yeah, you hear that? You heard it first here on Mental Health Warrior from Monica Baker. Yoga is a cure all for everything.
Yeah. No, but my sister, actually, she's a barrel racer. And she had hurt her back barrel racing, and
that's a tough sport, by the way. I've had a friend of mine; she did that for years. I did
it for a while with her, and then I decided, you know, I think I'll just stick with trail rides. Yeah, it is a tough sport. But she'd gone to her chiropractor, and he said, I really think that yoga would help you. And so she talked, and I have 2 younger sisters. She talked all of us into going with her. And I wasn't very excited about it because in my head, yoga meant slow and breathing and And that just was not my personality at all. I had trouble doing anything slow. And so she begged and we went, and we were going to hot yoga too, which that didn't really throw me either. Cause I was like, oh my God, I hate it when it's so hot. I don't like, so I was just like not thrilled about it. And like 10 minutes in, I'm looking at my watch going, it wasn't slow like I thought. It was fast and it was a workout. And I was like dying. And 10 minutes in, I was looking at my watch going, how much longer is this class going to last? And I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I kept thinking, this isn't my thing. I don't think I'm going to like this. But then about 2 hours after the class was over, I just noticed how good I felt. And I was like, I haven't felt this good in a long time. And so I thought, I think I really need to give this a chance. And I was like 46 when all this started. So, by the time you're that age, you have injuries and stuff going wrong with your body.
Right.
And so I decided they had a 2-week special. You could do 2 weeks, as many classes as you wanted for $20. And I'm like, I'm going to go to as many classes and check out all the instructors and find out. And that's what I kind of suggest too, when you're looking, like try lots of different instructors, try lots of different variations, because I always tell people that say they don't like yoga because they went to one class, like, okay, well then try something else, because there's so many variations of yoga. There's everything from cool, calming, that teaches you literally how to relax enough to go to sleep, all the way up to power yoga, where, I mean, I've seen guys like die because the class was so hard. So there's a type for everyone. And that's kind of what I did. I tried all the different kinds. And really, what I did was called a vinyasa, which is they link your breath with movement. So like you'll inhale on certain movements, you'll exhale on other movements. And it's more of like a workout type yoga. So you actually move pretty quickly. But I tried a lot of different, they also had what's called restorative yoga. And that was really the night I fell in love with yoga. It's a slower moving, but it's more relaxing. It's a lot focused on your breath. It's a lot focused on slow movements that really help your body to stretch out and relax. And then they do kind of a guided meditation at the end to send you into this. And I had never been relaxed that much in my whole life. I was like, oh, this is why I can't sleep at night, because this is the best I've ever felt. And that was when I really was like, okay, there's more to this than I need to figure this out and need to go to a lot more. And honestly, it was more about the workout for me in the beginning. Because you're a runner, I'm sure like you get that adrenaline high, and it kind of allows you to relax after. And it does that too, but this was different. There was like a mental thing that went along with it that I was really missing in my life, and I didn't know that I was missing it. And so it really yoga changed my life. It really did.
Do you think that when you went to that restorative class, because a lot of people in the military type A were very high strung, go, and I know you in school, you were the same way. You think that just having you slow down for that moment, which is hard for us to do, and kind of refocus really, really helped you? Because that's one of the things that was suggested to me, is to take the restorative yoga class.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think, they kind of taught us how to breathe. And when, you think, well, everybody knows how to breathe, but like when you're going through daily life, you're not thinking about it. You're breathing real shallowly. And it's like, no, slow your breath down, like feel what's going on the inside of your body. And it was hard too at times, because there were times I would leave yoga and I would feel like sad, but I think it was just like 46 years of pent up emotions that I hadn't dealt with, that because I was allowing myself to feel them for the first time. And so, it was good because I needed to work through all that stuff, but it was hard at first. I had to really, especially as much as the restorative class helped me relax, I had trouble relaxing. So I really had to like focus and just allow myself to slow down, because I hadn't allowed myself before that. So there were times it was a struggle, but it was a struggle I needed to get to where I am today.
And I think that's a great point. Is sometimes it's hard for people to know that it's okay just to slow down.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
okay to take that moment for yourself, because I say this all the time.
It's
It's
self-care.
okay to spend time with your family. It's okay to spend time with your kids, but everybody needs their own time and space. And
Yes.
if yoga is going to be your own time and space that you have, then like you said, it's really gonna help you as you go forward, with your life and moving on from other things.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I work out, because to me, when I work out, that's my time, right? When I go run with the dog or I walk with the dog, because I can't always run, or like today, I had a dental appointment, so I wasn't able to run, but I got on my elliptical and did my elliptical for 30 minutes.
Right.
It's just that time for me to kind of relax. And I thought about our podcast and what we're going to talk about and all the things I got to do today. And that's really my time. But if I do that, like I get Botox shots in my back. And so prior to the Botox wearing off and up until 2 weeks after I get the Botox, I'm in a lot of pain. And that's why they think that the yoga will help, because I must get so tight in my back from my injury. And so when that happens and I can't work out, it becomes very depressing, right? It becomes
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And everybody in their life goes through those depressive moments. I go through them too. I mean, even though I'm the mental health warrior, Cliff Bauman still goes through good and bad days. As it's hard to
I think once you realize, we all have those up and down days. And I think though, it's just the fact that then you realize that it's okay to feel that way and you're not like judging yourself harshly for it.
Well, and I think in the military, and in regular life too, I mean, everybody goes through that, where you judge yourself, because you feel weak or you feel like you're not living up to some type of a standard, and then the standard doesn't exist. It's just in your mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no standard there. What you do and what you choose to do in this life is totally up to you.
Yeah.
But sometimes we set those standards for us. And if we don't reach those standards, then we get depressed. I watch a lot of motivational videos and stuff, as I go out and do speaking events, because it's important. And one thing one guy said, and it really stuck with me. And he says, if you don't think that and you might have heard this, if you don't think that you're not special and unique, there's a 400 trillion to 1 chance that you were born as a human in this earth. Wow, that's a pretty good point there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that's where I totally get what you're saying. I think that's where yoga like really helped me. I have a hard time. I always have been really like where I pick up things quickly and I learn fast, which is great. But then if I start something and I'm not immediately good at it, I'm like, what's wrong with it? I can't do this, and I get really frustrated. And it's funny because I wasn't really immediately good at yoga, and I was comparing myself to all the people around the room, and oh, well, she can do this and he can do that, and why can't I do this? And I would get so frustrated. And they tell you right from the beginning, look, we're all in different bodies, we're all in different, different injuries, different life experiences. Don't compare. You're not here to compare yourself with others. That is not what this is about. You're here to be in your body and where you're at right now and do what you think is best for your body. Quit looking at the other people. And I struggled with that so hard. I mean,
and I know you did, because I know your personality. I know.
Yes. I mean, to the point I would literally cry sometimes because I'm like, God, why am I not good at this? Mm-hmm. I would joke around like, how long is it before I feel like I'm not like a whale flopping around on my mat? And then it was so funny. There's this one pose that's like a balance pose. You balance on your hands, and I couldn't do it. And the people that I kind of started with, they had started doing it, and I'm like, I don't know what is wrong with me. Why can I not do this pose? And I would get so frustrated. And one day I was just having a really bad day, and they had put that pose into the flow in class. But I literally broke down on my mat and just sat down and watched everybody else. And then there was a little voice in my head that said, try it again, but like relax into it. Like, don't try so hard, like surrender. I just kept hearing that word surrender. And then it was like, all of a sudden I could do the pose. And it was like, I was trying so hard. I was actually like not able to do it. And when I actually relaxed, I was able to do it. And I feel like I do that a lot in my life. Like sometimes I just need to let things be the way they're meant to be instead of trying to orchestrate and push things, square pegs into round holes.
That's a great point, because somebody who suffers from PTSD or any type of mental health issues, sometimes they have a hard time with that. And I'm really glad that you shared that, because once you can, I don't know if you know this or if you watched my, I'm a suicide survivor, right? So I attempted suicide a year after 9/11. But once you get through all that, and like you were saying, you couldn't do this pose, but you had a mental block, you didn't realize it, right?
Yeah,
Do that.
exactly.
And then once you broke through that, then you were able to do it, and I always talk about baby steps, right? You always got to get that win for the day. And I'm sure for you, you might have thought back, well, that was kind of silly that I broke down, but in reality, that allowed you to take more steps forward as you went on your yoga journey, and that's why I do health warrior. It's a journey, right? For everybody to get better with their issues and problems.
And I've had my struggles with mental health too.
We all do.
I've had struggles with mental health too, and I think I've suffered from depression all the way back to grade school. Of course, we didn't call it anything like that, and I don't know if I'm pretty open about when I was in college, I was raped pretty violently. And I think after that, like, it was kind of just like, okay, go on with your life, don't talk about it. And it, after a while, it takes its toll. And I've had my struggles with mental health too. So I get it.
I knew something happened to you in college, because we used to go up there and party all the time, but I didn't know what had happened. And I say, I'm sorry for that. My Monday shows on Throat Punch Mondays, we talk a lot about military sexual trauma on that show with my co-host, and because she had suffered that, and so many women and men in the military have suffered and dealt with that. And that's just a horrible thing to go through. It's hard to recover from that. Once that occurs.
I really struggled with it. It was someone I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know them well, but I had been around them a few times. I considered them a friend. And so it kind of just got in my head where I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I didn't know who to believe, what to trust. And so it just kind of puts you in a mental tailspin, when something like that happens.
Yeah, it does. And we talked about this on one of the Throat Punch Monday shows. The women was talking about, I think it was I don't remember who it was, but yeah, they were just exactly that. He was a friend. We used to hang out together all the time, and then he wound up raping her. And she was very upset and over that, as anybody would be. And so I appreciate you sharing that to me, because if anybody's out there listening, whether you're male or female, and you've gone through that, it's a horrible ordeal. Trust becomes a massive issue. If you deal with it as a child, I had Rachel was on. She's a life coach. Her episode's going to air here soon, and she talks about dealing with that, because it's something that she also dealt with in her life. And so I brought her on to and she's going to be on after you or a couple of times before you come on. And she talks about that and the importance of learning how to heal again. But she said for her, the biggest thing was trust.
Yeah. And it is. And honestly, trusting yourself, because in my head, I was like, this was my friend. This was a person that I thought was a good person. And so then I didn't trust myself to make good decisions because I felt like, well, I picked this person and I messed up. So, right. Maybe I'm not good at picking people. So, but it wasn't really dealt with. I think my parents were pretty shocked and they didn't really know what to do. It was kind of just like, well, she seems okay, so go back to work and go about your life. And that's how everyone kind of handled it. And I think over time, it just kind of eats away until it kind of just bubbles up. It keeps bubbling up to the surface until it gets to a point where you can't ignore it anymore.
Well, and that was kind of like me with my PTSD. I know it's completely different, but you eventually you run out of options to deal with it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it starts caving in on you.
Yeah.
And then that starts you down that road. And we know
Yeah.
that road.
Well, and I actually went and got, I finally didn't know what else to do and went and got mental health, started going to a psychologist every week. And I mean, it made a big difference. I mean, it kind of took I think I was blaming myself, and I realized I'm not the person to blame for what happened to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, when that happens from it's a natural occurrence for them to blame themselves.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you went and got the help that you did, and you gone on to have a
I
great.
am too. Everybody should go to a psychologist at some point in their lives.
It's like a car, right? A car needs a tune up every now and then. And I say this all the time, people needs to go and see whether it's a psychologist, psychiatrist, a licensed clinical social
Yeah.
worker, a life coach,
Yeah.
just kind of get that tune up. Everybody needs a tune up, or watch the Mental Health Warrior. You can catch my episodes and you can get all tuned up on whatever you want to see. But I think it's important, and I think, one of the things that
I do.
with yoga, when you had that moment where you did that pose and you were fighting it and you kind of had that mental health epiphany, what did you think about after the class? After you left that class and you were by yourself? Did you question why you felt that at that moment?
Yeah, I kind of realized it was like an epiphany. I kind of realized that I do a lot of things where I try to really like control everything and make things fit and make things work out. And I just realized, sometimes you just got to let things go because maybe that's not meant for you. And you do the best you can to achieve your goals, but at some point, if you've done all you can do, you got to move on and do something different. And so I think that I realize sometimes I can't control everything, and I just need to realize, sometimes you got to let things go.
And I think for a lot of people, that's really a hard thing to do, is just
for sure.
Especially when it's trauma, right? And trauma, yeah. I tell people all the time, PTSD doesn't happen on the battlefield. You don't have to be in the military to suffer from it. You suffer from the ordeal that you just talked about, and it's how that person defines it. And just like with yoga, right? With different body types, we're all different. God made us all different. And so, it's important to know and understand that, because what bothers me may not bother you, may not bother Kevin. But it doesn't make it any less importance to that person, right? I talk to people about this.
We all have our different perceptions and experiences to pull from. So exactly.
And expectations, right? We all have certain different expectations of what should happen. And I would tell you that, there were people, 9/11 had a profound effect on me, but not so much deploying and going to Iraq. Why is that? It's just how my mind processed what was going on at that time. And some people have the opposite effect. So that's really great and interesting. So as you go through your journey of yoga, and let's say I'm a beginner person, I'm going to go out and do yoga, and I'm going to go out and try. And you said the first class that I should try would be restorative class. For people out there who doesn't know the yoga lingo, right? Is there like a website, or I don't know if you want to talk about where you work at, you're more than happy to.
We have lots of different classes for lots of different people. So we offer everything from restorative yoga, which is more of a relaxing movement that stretches you out. And then we have all the way up to power yoga, where I would challenge just about any guy that walks into the studio that he's going to get a phenomenal workout from it. So, I mean, it kind of just depends on your personality, and it depends on how you're feeling that day. There's some days I like a good power yoga class because I really want to like kill it. And then there's other days where I'm all about restorative because I just need to calm down. So, but I would definitely, my big thing, like when you said you had an injury, if you're going to go to a class, especially if you have an injury, try to talk to the instructor before the class starts.
Good choice.
Maybe tell them what your injury is, just so they're aware. And I would, tell them that, especially like instructors generally have an idea of what they're going to teach before class, like a sequence of poses they're going to do.
Sure.
But, depending on the class and the level and that kind of thing, we always try to offer modifications, because we know no two bodies are alike. One person might be great at one pose and another person's going to be good at a different one. So let the instructor know like what you struggle with, what your injury is, and ask him, if you get to something that you think would impact that, can you offer me some modifications for it? And it's, it's okay too during a class. You don't have to do everything that the instructor tells you to do. I mean, that's the one thing I tell everybody at the beginning of my classes. We call yoga a practice because it's always changing. You're always, you're practicing at it. You're never going to perfect it because there's always something else.
Right.
So I always tell everybody, this is your practice. So add, leave out, change, modify, whatever it is, because I'm not in your body. I don't know how you're feeling that day. I don't know every little thing that's going on. If I tell you to do a certain pose and you're just like, my body is not feeling that today, just leave it out. Like, there's no problem with that. I tell people also to rest, especially a hot yoga class, because I don't know if you've a hot yoga class, a lot of times the room is heated to around 100 degrees. So, and it's usually more of a workout class for a vinyasa. And, and vinyasa means like, syncing the breath with movement. And so they sync up like how you breathe with the movement that they're doing at a time. So a lot of times it's a very fast moving class. I tell people all the time, if you feel tired, if you run out of breath, if you take a rest, lay on your mat for 10, 15 minutes, get back in as soon as you're ready. And I will tell you, and I tell people this all the time, if anyone would have seen me doing yoga at the beginning of when I started, they would have never been like, oh, that girl's going to be a yoga teacher one day. Because I would probably sit out half the class because I just couldn't do it. And I was so frustrated. But after a while, I finally got it.
It's funny because I text Chris and told him that you were going on the show to talk about yoga. And he's like, yeah, she loves yoga. And they tell you say hi. And he says hi.
All right. Well, tell him hi back.
Yeah, well, he's staying busy there in Ozark being the superintendent of the school, but he's doing great things there.
Oh, I know. I couldn't do his job right now. These last 2 years must have been hard for him.
Well, it's a good thing he was bald before it started because he would have been by now.
That's true.
I'm still holding on to my hair a little bit. So I tease him. Because,
you look good.
I don't think. Hey, what's funny is in high school, right? Remember Chris in high school, his hair parted in the middle and it was all the girls swooned over his hair. My hair always looked the same. But then he got about 26. I'm 52. I still got my hair ready. I can only part it on the side.
Oh, so, that's funny. That's good though.
Go ahead and end this. Hey, Mental Health Warriors, I want to thank you for tuning in. I really want to thank Monica Baker for coming on and sharing her journey with yoga and becoming an instructor. I think it's very important. I'm going to start yoga here maybe in a couple of weeks. And so after I do yoga for a while, I'm going to have you back on so then we can talk to yoga lingo because I'll know it by then. But I'll let you know. Yeah, I'll let you know how that goes. But hey, Mental Health Warriors, you guys have a great week out there. Thanks for joining and take care.